When an operational technology (OT) incident unfolds, beginners often focus so intensely on the technical problem that they treat communication as something to handle later, after the systems are fixed. In reality, escalation and notification are part of the response, not an afterthought, because the right people need to know what is happening early enough to make safe decisions and meet obligations. In OT, those decisions can include whether to continue operating, whether to shift to manual modes, whether to isolate networks, and whether to initiate public safety precautions. If the wrong people are kept in the dark, teams may act without authority or without necessary context, which can create safety risk. If communication is sloppy, the organization may miss government or regulator reporting obligations, which can create legal and reputational consequences that extend the incident's impact. Escalation and notification are therefore about getting the right information to the right stakeholders at the right time, with the right level of confidence and clarity. This does not mean oversharing speculation or causing panic. It means disciplined communication that supports safe action and accountable governance. For beginners, it helps to see escalation and notification as a structured workflow tied to evidence and consequence, not as a random stream of updates. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is a companion to our course companion books. The first book is about the exam and provides detailed information on how to pass it best. The second book is a Kindle-only ebook that contains 1,000 flashcards that can be used on your mobile device or Kindle. Check them both out at cyberauthor.me in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. Internal escalation is the first domain because it is the mechanism that brings the right decision-makers and experts into the incident before it becomes unmanageable. In an OT context, internal escalation typically involves operations leadership, control engineers, safety personnel, IT security, facilities, and sometimes business continuity and legal teams, depending on the situation. Beginners should understand that internal escalation is not simply a hierarchy where everything goes to the most senior person. It is a routing system based on who can make or inform specific decisions. If an incident might affect process integrity, you need engineering and operations leadership early because they understand safe operating limits and can approve operational changes. If an incident involves remote access compromise, you need IT security early because they can restrict sessions and protect identity systems. If there are signs of physical access, you need facilities and physical security early because they can secure rooms and preserve evidence. If public impact is possible, you need crisis management early because messaging and coordination with external stakeholders may be required. A mature internal escalation plan also defines escalation triggers, such as loss of visibility, suspected compromise of engineering pathways, suspected safety system involvement, or evidence of lateral movement toward critical zones. The key beginner lesson is that escalation is a safety control because it ensures decisions are made with the right expertise and authority rather than by whoever happens to notice the problem first. For internal escalation to work, the organization needs a shared understanding of severity levels, even if those levels are informal. Severity is not only about how bad the technical artifact looks. It is about the potential consequence if the situation is real. In OT, a small-looking cyber indicator can still be high severity if it touches an engineering workstation or a boundary device that controls access to critical segments. Conversely, a noisy alert on an isolated low-criticality system might be lower severity even if it seems dramatic. Beginners should learn that severity should be assessed through three lenses: operational impact, safety impact, and confidence in compromise. Operational impact asks whether production or service delivery is disrupted or at risk. Safety impact asks whether the process could become unsafe or whether safeguards could be impaired. Confidence asks whether evidence suggests malicious activity versus benign failure. Internal escalation decisions are often driven by combinations, such as moderate confidence plus high potential safety impact, which warrants immediate involvement of operations leadership even if the evidence is incomplete. Another beginner misconception is thinking you must have full proof before escalating. In OT, waiting for proof can be dangerous because time is limited and decision pacing matters. The safer approach is to escalate with clear language about what is known, what is suspected, and what evidence is being gathered, so decision-makers can prepare and align without being misled. Notification within the organization also includes informing adjacent teams that may be affected indirectly, which is another subtle point beginners often miss. An OT incident can affect the business side, such as supply chain scheduling, customer commitments, and regulatory reporting timelines. It can also affect the IT side, such as shared identity services, remote access platforms, and centralized monitoring. Notifying these teams early can prevent them from making changes that unintentionally complicate the incident. For example, an IT team might initiate a broad patch rollout or a network change that interferes with OT containment, while a business team might commit to timelines that are unrealistic given recovery requirements. Clear internal notification helps align expectations and reduces surprises. It also supports resource allocation because incidents often require extra staffing, overtime, and specialized expertise, and those decisions must be approved quickly. Beginners should see internal notification as an enabler of coordinated response. It brings in logistics, procurement, communication support, and leadership attention so the technical teams can focus on stabilization and investigation. Without it, technical teams are forced to fight on multiple fronts, and that increases the chance of mistakes. Government and regulator expectations are the next layer, and they can sound intimidating to beginners, but the underlying idea is straightforward. Certain incidents must be reported, and certain sectors are expected to communicate promptly when critical services are affected or when significant cyber events occur. Expectations can come from sector regulators, from safety authorities, or from national cyber agencies, depending on the jurisdiction and the type of organization. In OT, this is especially relevant for critical infrastructure, where disruptions can affect public safety and economic stability. Beginners should understand that reporting requirements vary widely, so organizations must know their obligations in advance rather than discovering them mid-incident. That is why preparation includes identifying which regulators apply, what timelines exist, and what information must be provided. Reporting is not only about compliance. It can also be a way to receive support and guidance, because government agencies may share threat intelligence, coordinate with other organizations, or provide incident response assistance in certain cases. However, reporting also carries risk if done poorly, because inaccurate statements can create legal issues and undermine trust. The goal is disciplined, evidence-based notification that meets obligations while avoiding speculation. This is another reason why clear roles matter. Someone must own the decision and the content of external reporting. A critical part of executing external notification is understanding the difference between immediate safety-related notifications and broader regulatory reporting. If an incident creates immediate risk to public safety or essential services, rapid notification may be required so that coordinated protective actions can occur. For example, if a utility service is disrupted, public communications and coordination with authorities may be needed quickly. Broader regulatory reporting may have defined windows, such as reporting within a certain number of hours or days, and may require more structured information. Beginners should learn that a notification plan should include both pathways: the emergency pathway for urgent public impact and the compliance pathway for required reporting. Both pathways require careful phrasing. In urgent situations, you may need to communicate quickly with limited information, so the message must clearly separate confirmed facts from ongoing investigation. In structured reporting, you may provide more detail, but you still need to be careful about what you claim because early assumptions often change. A disciplined approach uses incremental updates. Report what you know, state what you are doing, and commit to providing updates as facts become clearer. This reduces the risk of misleading stakeholders while still meeting timeliness expectations. Regulators often expect organizations to demonstrate that they are managing incidents responsibly, which means not only reporting the event, but also showing that appropriate governance and risk controls are being applied. In OT, that can include demonstrating that safety was prioritized, that containment actions were coordinated with operations, and that recovery includes integrity verification. Beginners should understand that regulators may care about both outcomes and process. Outcomes include whether service was disrupted and whether safety was compromised. Process includes whether the organization followed its plans, escalated appropriately, and maintained evidence. This does not mean you must have everything perfect. It means you must be able to explain your decision-making and show that you acted responsibly given the evidence at the time. This is where documentation during the incident becomes important. If decisions are recorded with rationale, later reporting becomes more accurate and defensible. Beginners sometimes resist documentation because it feels like slowing down, but in regulated environments, documentation is part of the response because it supports accountability and reduces confusion. It also helps post-incident learning because you can revisit what information was available at each stage. In OT, where incidents may involve multiple teams and external partners, a clear timeline and decision record is a stabilizing force. Government reporting and coordination can also intersect with threat intelligence and broader sector defense, which is another reason timely notification matters. When multiple organizations in a sector face similar attacks, shared reporting can help authorities identify patterns, warn others, and coordinate mitigations. Beginners should see that this is not only about compliance. It can improve collective defense. However, sharing must be managed carefully to protect sensitive operational details that could be exploited. This is why many reporting channels emphasize structured information and allow for controlled sharing. In practical terms, organizations often share indicators, techniques observed, and general impact descriptions, while keeping detailed architecture information more restricted. The goal is to contribute enough information to help others defend without exposing your own environment unnecessarily. This also highlights why internal classification and review processes matter during incidents. If technical teams share raw details without review, they may inadvertently expose sensitive data. If legal teams over-restrict sharing, the organization may miss opportunities for support and collective defense. Executing notification well is therefore a balancing act that requires coordination across teams. Another common beginner mistake is confusing escalation with notification and treating them as a single step. Escalation is about bringing in internal decision-makers and resources so the organization can act. Notification is about communicating to external stakeholders who have a right or need to know, such as regulators, government agencies, partners, and sometimes the public. They overlap, but their purposes and audiences differ, and the content should differ accordingly. Internal escalation can include technical detail because internal teams need detail to act. External notification often requires more careful framing, focusing on impact, actions being taken, and known facts, while avoiding unnecessary technical specifics that could confuse or create risk. Beginners should also understand that external notification often requires coordination with crisis communications and legal because the content can have consequences beyond the incident itself. That does not mean technical teams are excluded. It means technical teams provide evidence and facts, and the organization packages those facts appropriately for the audience. Clear role definitions prevent conflict here. If technical teams speak externally without alignment, messages can conflict. If leadership speaks externally without technical grounding, messages can be inaccurate. Coordinated notification keeps messaging consistent and trustworthy. Executing escalation and notification well also requires timing discipline, because too slow is dangerous and too fast can be reckless. If you delay escalation, you lose time and allow uncertainty to grow, and uncertainty leads to poor decisions. If you delay external notification beyond required timelines, you risk non-compliance and reputational harm. If you notify too early with speculation, you risk spreading misinformation and creating panic, and you may also create legal exposure. The disciplined approach is to trigger escalation early when potential consequence is high, even if confidence is still developing, and to trigger external notification based on clear criteria and known obligations. Communication should be staged and updated because the picture improves over time. Beginners should practice the habit of clear language that separates known facts from hypotheses. For example, you might state that unauthorized remote access is suspected based on session anomalies, that containment actions are underway, and that investigation is ongoing to determine whether control integrity was affected. That is more responsible than stating that systems were hacked in a specific way before evidence exists. This habit protects the organization and supports better decision-making because it keeps everyone aligned with reality rather than rumor. In the end, Executing escalation and notification in OT incidents is about ensuring that response is both safe and accountable, internally and externally. Internal escalation brings the right experts and authorities together early, allowing containment and operational decisions to be coordinated with safety priorities. Internal notification aligns adjacent teams so that dependencies and business impacts are managed rather than becoming surprises. Government and regulator notifications meet legal and sector expectations, enable support and collective defense, and demonstrate responsible management of high-consequence events. The key to doing all of this well is role clarity, disciplined timing, and evidence-based language that avoids speculation while still acting decisively. For new learners, the most important takeaway is that communication is not separate from technical response. It is part of the control system for the incident itself. When escalation and notification are handled with structure and care, the organization makes better decisions, reduces downtime, protects safety, and emerges from the incident with trust intact. That is what mature incident management looks like in OT, and it is a capability worth building deliberately.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.